I want to welcome back. Today we're going to be playing more Mono Black, but I wanted to come back and reapproach this list. After playing Demir yesterday, I definitely liked how good and effective Preacher the Schism was in that deck, and I couldn't think of a better shell, obviously, than Mono Black to play it and see if it's not worth splashing into here and seeing how well it will operate. This deck is also completely rotation free, or free. Rotation safe. Look at me go. I'm going to have to re-record everything. Just kidding. Haha. But we are playing what we have been playing in Mono Black. If you've seen my videos before, if you have not, we are on a very heavy discard plan with Duress, Tiny Bones, Liliana, Hostile Investigator. The old heads will know this as 8-rack, and some of the tried and true gamers will also know it. Along with 3 more Deep Cavern Bats. I actually did lower this down to fit the Preacher's in, but I also thought we had so much discard already that having more was a little tough. I think I was on 4 and 4 here, but we trimmed down a little bit just because the matchups that it might not necessarily be that good in, I don't want to be overloaded on. Outside of that, we have our removal. I end up cutting the Shoot the Sheriff in here as well to just fit in those Preachers because I think they're so much more valuable in other matchups. With 3 cut downs, 3 go for the throats, and a long goodbye just as our main removal package. Obviously, there's a Harvester sitting here, but we'll talk about it in a second. And our main value creatures here being, I'll drop Hostile Investigator back over here, with their main value creatures being a Caustic Bronco to help draw some cards, kind of acting as a Dark Confidant in this deck, but can also direct the damage at our opponent whenever it's useful. Preacher the Schism, as you'll see in the matches today, finding its value whether it's drawing cards, bodying Boros, or doing whatever it needs to do. Karavek as well, just a crime committing machine whenever it gets the value going. Whenever we cut down a creature, duress our opponent on their upkeep with Karavek's ability, because it does not care when the spell needs to be cast, it'll do it regardless. And then having Hostile Investigator, this card shows why it is so good in today's video against control, as it constantly was 2 for 1ing them. They made a slight mistake and allowed the discard to happen before they removed the Hostile Investigator, so we made it clue. But outside of that, 2 for 1 in control puts you ahead in that matchup so much. And if we already have a threat in like a Bronco or a Preacher, and then we Hostile Investigator them, it becomes a big threat to them. And we have some one-ofs over here. We have a Harvester of Misery, which I talk a little bit more in depth at the end and what I feel about this card. But we wanted a instant speed kind of removal spell instead of Shoot the Sheriff, but also a kind of bullet card against Boros. And then Gissa as a one-of to kind of act as a board filler, if you would, if we're empty-handed with Liliana's kind of plussing and Hostile Investigators going and then making our opponent discard everything. Gissa is a very good top end to draw, especially if you have a Tiny Bone joins up, because then this enters the battlefield and is a 4/4 herself. The crime gets committed off the Tiny Bones joins up and then makes 2 2/2s, but with her ability they become 3/3s with Menace, which is very good. And then we have a Shieldred. I talk about it a little bit more, but I talk about how Harvester probably should just be a Shieldred. So if you're taking this just right away, that is my advice almost immediately. And you'll notice I trim the lands and I change them, but I talk about that more in the outro. But other than that, let's go ahead and hop into the games. If y'all enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. It truly helps out the channel a ton. I mean, if the rest is good, this hand is insane. If the rest is bad, this hand sucks. Fair. Bronco. Don't you dare Harvester my Bronco. His organs are perfectly fine. Ah! Fair enough. Cut down. Maybe not the best thing in the world. But Liliana plussing here most definitely is. We already know that the rest is probably pretty bad. Graveyard Trespasser can come in. I'll minus. And then I'll minus again. This is a tough look, chat. Tough look. Here goes my Bronco. My Sweet King. I mean, we obviously got a minus here. The only real issue is like a card like Talking Numa is going to be pretty troublesome. I guess I probably should have kept the rest. For the situation right here, I'd love to duress and see if they had to go for a throw for the Preacher, but Oh, what a disgusting draw for us here.
This was boring anyway. It's no fun.
Takanuma gone.
Your friends have to
Liliana coming in. Cut down most likely gone. Like useless anyway.
And you don't overthink.
We attack. The rest obviously not great for them, but we get a 1/1 left behind, so the Foundry doesn't even get to attack. They kind of have to cast this card. Children. I mean, it has to just be my Preacher, right? That's a gross draw. We're drawing very well.
Personal space.
I will say that for sure. Now, we could have Caravac'd and then minus, but like we get cut down or duress, so it doesn't really do anything. What do we got, opponent? We're in the mono black mirror. Underdog. Nope, not worth it. I can replay it, but Lily doesn't really do much here. Sure, dude. Oh, we're so talented. I'm sorry, opponent. I know I kind of slow rolled that. I just couldn't believe it. Like, mind blown. If they don't find removal for the 1/1, the 1/1's going to jump in front of the underdog. I might even target them. I might, like, minus Lily target them regardless, just so I can bring back my Preacher. Okay, never mind. It's definitely a tough one. They get rid of Preacher knowing the inevitable here. Okay. Here. Be minus. I target Lily. Cast Lily. Yeah. I keep the one with more.
Right?
Now that's gone.
One of your friends
And
has
I
to
plus
leave.
here. And then honestly,
Tired of your
I'm just down to
secrets.
pass for now, I think. Because I don't want them to be able to bring up the Foundry and cause me problems. Like, Tenacious Underdog's probably getting dashed here. I guess they can't Underdog and Foundry anyway. Interesting. Well, you Underdog. Because the problem with Underdog is if they don't draw something relevant, like Liliana just makes them lose it, right? So it's like, they have this weird game plan of, does Underdog get enough value in order to justify doing this? And who knows? I mean, you can start chipping away at my stuff. I will chump block with my 1/1. And it is instep, so if it's a sorcery speed spell like a duress or something, then they don't really get any value anyway. Sure. Well, there's a pause, but that still could be the Foundry, like, bring up here. I guess my long goodbye is gone.
Don't
Sure.
overthink things.
I'm attacking. If they're gonna keep bringing up Underdog, I'm gonna keep attacking. Liliana ult here doesn't really do me much, but it is good. It just doesn't do me enough, I think, to justify keeping it. What is your hand? Did you find just clean removal for it? It's also possible. This game has become this, like, very quickly weird game. That's for sure. Well, now I kind of have to protect the Lily. So my Caravac's gone. Our Carvac's gone. Whatever you want to call it. And we don't care because they most likely lose this card here. Bring this up. Here. They're going to draw the card immediately, but like Liliana. Oh, they ripped a land. Nice. Let's play our Preacher. Preacher, stay alive here.
Smarting me.
Preacher really nice because Underdog cannot attack through it. And it doesn't kill my Preacher. Foundry not necessarily good enough. Liliana ready to ult, and I will just split their mana in half. I'll wait until you concede, if you concede. Nice. Good game. Opponent goes first. Sure. Not super thrilled on his hand, but his hand seems fine. Okay. Why not just draw another colorless source, you know? Why not? Why not? Oh, yeah. Ooh, who would have thought? Then Adeline's going to show up. Pass. Adeline's going to show up, and then we're going to cut down 3 creatures. Oh, Warden's kind of annoying. I would agree. I'd agree, chat. I think Warden's annoying. I know. I guess. Yeah, I kind of thought about getting rid of the Warden because of this, but like... This one, I guess, dude. I don't know. Colorless land is me. That's me. I'm colorless land guy. Sure. Do not case me. Gross. I have a feeling that the rest sucks. Oh, if they just had 1 creature in hand. That was so good. Yeah, I guess. Plaza. Cut down's good, but I guess like I should have waited. I'm gonna make a token, so I'm just gonna attack here. Because I don't mind attacking here. Go for the throw's pretty good. So now, like, a little part of me thinks I should just cut down Coppercoat and not be able to go for the throw to anything. Because my deck sucks. But, you know, we would be in a good spot. Also, if I had a black legendary creature. Because then this could tap for black mana. But right now, it cannot. Reinforcements, obviously a little bit better than Thalia to some degree if you're an Imadane's recruiter deck. So I think they agree. They're like, if I draw Imadane's, like, reinforcements into Imadane's recruiter is just way better. But Preacher putting up the same fight that I like a lot of times. Now what do? Do we attack? Or do we just scry a lot and then I cut down here and hopefully go for the throw with this? I hope. On top, I wonder if that's a recruiter. Who would have thought? They keep on top again. I know. Surprise. Vampire, where are you at? And then I can... I kind of got to kill this. Is the problem. But I don't think I can afford to do that. Here, I guess? This, and then I can have go for the throw, target the Coppercoat Vanguard, or I can just cut down the Vanguard, I guess. I have to feel like this is a Imadane's recruiter. Oh, reinforcements? I'm actually not opposed to that. Like, the attack doesn't get much better here. And once I get this flyer off the battlefield, like, I feel a lot of things start falling apart. I can cut down this. The rest is basically not in my hand, by the way. Yeah? Anything else? Cut down here. I kept wanting to grab my go for the throat, and it was about to make me mad, to be honest. Yeah. Let's take a black source. Let's go. Now that I've figured out everything. Like, now that we went through all the hard turns, now we get what we need. I just don't even want to give them a scry on their turn, but this, I'm gonna crack this. What do I hit? Another swamp? No way. Yeah, I have to go for the throat this. Then go to combat, attack and attack. Again, this makes 2 1/1 lifelinkers. These are actually incredible. This is why Preacher's so good in this matchup, or any of these matchups. They're great blockers early, like they kind of build a brick wall, like they don't want to trade their creatures in. And then these 1/1s just like man, they're really not digging for this Immodane's recruiter though, which is like cool, but at the same time it's like if you would have found this Immodane's, it'd have been pretty good at some point. They also have to be kind of careful. Like, we're at 12. We're getting close. I've used 3 cut downs and a go for the throat. Airvac's also even fine here because then I can duress my opponent even though they're empty-handed and it'll still work. Preacher 3.0. Yeah, seems pretty good. Here. I can put a Preacher into play. This can grow bigger. I'm trying to decide. I mean, Hostile Investigator has to attack here. I make 2 creatures on the backswing. They obviously just chomp and then chomp. So I don't think swinging them makes a lot of sense. I don't think bringing this up and attacking makes a lot of sense. So I am into doing this. More creatures to hold back. And if I absolutely have to gain life, yeah, that Hostile Investigator coming in, getting, you can tell they're feeling the pressure a little bit. Normally they won't block kind of ever in those spots if they're not feeling the pressure. Yep, play another Preacher. Now we have a good hold. This card is not technically a dead card. They only have 1 scry here, so like, if they want to scry again, this Warden then causes them some issues. They might have a Knight. I don't know what their hand could be. Land, brutal. Yeah, that's tough. I think they just lost. So, scrying causes them to lose, I believe. I could be wrong. I think I'm wrong. I mean, it forces this to block, so they lose. I think. So I bring this up. So what? Let's say they block my Preachers. I have 6. I have 7, 8. But they block here. It's also just short. So I kind of have to wait 1 more turn. But I have to swing my lifelinkers this time. Yeah, I guess. I need to gain life. But I make 3 1/1s on the back end. Because their flyer's so strong. Block. Like, this Warden's obviously going to throw a block. It should. Like, in front of a 1/1 at the very least. But I can see them being like, no, maybe not. There, and there. Down to 3. Then I play Tiny Bones. I done my math wrong. I have no idea. Just because if I do play a legendary, it's pretty good. I don't know what I'd be afraid of. Not Thalia. Now they have to hold back, which is not enough, I believe. Yeah, it's definitely not enough. Bana, 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 bana. They have 5 creatures. If they just block these and 2 of these, I have 6 damage it gets through, and it's not enough. So That's not even counting my land. But again, against a soldiers aggro-y creature token style deck, I think the Preacher showed how good it is. I talked about this when I was playing it in the mirror, and I thought Preacher was just so valuable in his matchups that I actually added him into the mono black list because of it. Opponents first have tiny bones, have a lot of removal. I think it's fine, especially the way this kind of curve turns out. Like a tiny bones, maybe not my favorite, but it is what it is. Issue. I don't want to discard. I like my hand. Monarch Ruckus, that makes sense. Interesting to see them set up that way, especially if they put a slick shot into this spot, but they do not. Ancestral Anger is probably the worst card for us to see here. Play with Fire is like, okay. Discard at the top. They have 2 cards in hand. Foundry, I guess. Then we just pass here. Whopping 4 damage coming across the board. Even if they have Monstrous Rage, we still end up shooting the Swiss Spear. Godric. Not Godric. We end up getting the last card here, too. Very cool. Let's do Long Goodbye because it has the reach here. But we get to Tiny Bones them, and then I can even play like a Caustic Bronco, I guess. I probably hold up the Go for the Throat in case they get a Ancestral Anger off the top and they want to use it here. So I have to just find a threat though at some point, or a Preacher would be nice to make lifelinkers. Yeah, because things like that's kind of annoying. You have 2, I think is how it works. I think it's just instants and sorceries. Keep Cavern back kind of answers the call. It's a lifelinker. It is what I asked for. Ooh, land. Sure. They flip this. Discard hand. Draw 3 cards. Very sick. Would you like to attack? I'll double block. I can't crew that up anyway, so it's only going to be used, or saddle that anyway. It's only going to be used for that. I guess. I feel like not playing this 5/4 is a worse mistake. Deep Camera had no other value other than being a 1/1 lifelinker, but I think playing a 5/4 that can not die to Lightning Strike or play with Fire just seems better. Play with Fire. Okay, so they got a lot of burn. They keep on top. Not good. Not good at all, Captain. Not good at all, Captain. Combat. Got 7. We're trying. We're trying our little bestest. I'm gonna get hit with a Lightning Strike here, though. No, okay. Did they not hit a threat? They didn't hit a land, which is tough. I don't think they have enough to pay 1, right? Really? You concede? You have 3 cards in the hand and you concede? What? Sure, I'll take it. Oh, Snapchat. Not the app, dude. But yeah, we'll keep. Turn 1 Duress seems pretty solid. It has the most chances of hitting here. I could wait till after they draw. But I feel like Tiny Bones is pretty cool. It's like Duress technically has a chance to miss, so I'm gonna Tiny Bones actually. And try to find out what they're playing first. You could argue the other way around because their hand's at maximum control. Okay. This one. Don't really care. Don't really care. Don't really care. I care about that one though. Like, I care about the removal, but like hostile investigators make them removal very awkward. I can bring this up. Map tokens. Map tokens. No counterspell, please, opponent. Or a cavern off the top for me would be pretty cool. Plaza is pretty sick. This one. No counterspell, please. Target you. So now if they even remove my investigator, like now it takes 2 cards out of their hand. Ooh. Allowing it to happen, huh? Oh, they don't even have counterspell available because of Mirix. Interesting. All right, bad time to remove that, by the way. If you find yourself getting hit with a hostile investigator, you always remove it before the trigger resolves. Because now I get to draw a card. And that's not better for you, Jet. Not, you know. It's very bad. I think hostile investigator is probably better. Please stop tapping my mana. Like, I hate leaving open mana up. Please. Thank you. I'm gonna play Preacher because I want to be able to sack this clue here. Preacher's good, but also like I know they have Get Lost, and if they play land here and they hold 1 card without a second blue, Memory Deluge is off the table. They'll find it eventually, and they do now. 1. All right, I can stop drawing lands, please, chat. Chat. Game's making me mad. It's making me upset. Holy moly, man. This game just hates letting me have mana open. It's like, hey, you're a mono black deck. Would you like to tap every single one of your black sources? They don't care anymore. They're done. I get it. As a control mage there, that's probably the most frustrating thing to deal with. You already have to 1-for-1 so much that you require a card like Memory Deluge to keep you in the loop, like keep you in that game, keep you active, or even like 3 steps so powerful. This is why this card's so good. Being able to counter a spell and then draw 2 cards is so valuable when you're getting hit with hostile investigators over and over and duress, and then a Tiny Bones joins up. Like, everything feels horrible. So I definitely get it from their perspective. Definitely tough. But on to the next one. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I'll keep this. Hopefully duress is good. You big dumb dinos? Are you true to your name? Oh god, they are. Liliana's kind of good. The only problem in this matchup is they are the epitome of kill you out of nowhere. They are the epitome of suplex out of nowhere. I'm going to play the Caustic Bronco here. I know, little interesting. They might Carnosaur it, which is like fine. But I didn't figure they would. But it's 3 mana, I guess. I'm going to play Caravac, and then I'm going to saddle the Bronco and attack. But the argument could be, like, Liliana's more important. Yep. Sure. Honestly, pretty pumped that this is also going to be gone, by the way. Be the wrong approach to take, but the approach I'm at. Which worked out pretty well in my favor there, because I find a land to play. Harvest not good. I guess, dog. Land would be best. Hostile Investigator not bad. I just don't think I can. They have land in exactly yet. I just lose. I guess that's like why a card like Hostile Investigator or Lily Plussing and things like that right here is really good. Because then I can just keep doing it every turn. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. Talking to myself, I agree with my own game action. I'm on a plus here. I'm gonna let Harvester go because Harvester's just not that great here. I let Brotherhood in go. Brotherhood in could have answered Lily in theory, but land plus Glimpse or something gets it done regardless. Carnosaur. Okay. You cast it. Yeah.
Do
Okay.
not touch me
Fantastic.
again.
Interesting spot here. Do I plus? Then I can hostile investigator? I guess so. Hmm. They're not like a great top deck, but they're like a fine top deck, you know? I could Lily minus and then just go for the throw at the other creature, and I like that more.
Enough with the mystery.
I know I miss a plus here, but like, obviously we have to do that in turn. Protection, not normally what they're known for here. Where is this going? With my hand, I remove this. Alright, no smuggler surprise. This could also just be Gruul ramp, and then they're not doing the smuggler surprise thing at all. Tiny bones. Target. Main problem they have here is no matter kind of how they work this hand, they're losing every card, and then it's going to become a top deck war. But they do have 7 mana, so a card like a Tali is going to be very solid. Yeah, so Smuggler Surprise here. And, okay, they hit exactly... Why? Lost them both. I thought they put in Calamity and Terror, and I just lost, is what I thought just happened to me. But they did not. Sick. Let's activate here, see what we can find. Not a fan.
I'm tired
This
of
one?
your secrets.
I don't even know what to do. Let's play Deep Cavern Bet and just have it as a blocker. No, I guess. 6, 7, 8. Because I'm counting that already. Yeah. Wow. They didn't hit it. They didn't have the mana. They do now, though. Now that I agree with. Let's take a look. Okay, that's fine here. Let's pop this. We are dead to a Smuggler Surprise off the top, though.
Drop it.
And that's tough. But with that said, I don't really have a choice.
You chose the wrong day to
Good job,
cross
Lily.
me.
I build Liliana back up. You used 3 brothers hit in now? Oh, no, they're all 4 in there. Did they mill one? At some point? I mean, I guess they would have had to, right? You? Smuggler Surprise on top. There are the peaks. I'll take that. Plus.
I'm tired of your secrets.
Closing out pretty quick. Glimpse. Not good. That's the only downside of this Gruul deck. Is like, you do just have some really bad cards sometimes. Human. Plus. Almost didn't plus. I could still just die. That's the craziest part. Smuggler's Surprise could still just kill me. Okay, we live, chat. Now I have 4 damage. Yeah. Game's got to be hard, you know. Problem is, you have to like kill Gissa here. but you have to. Sure. Yeah, we win here. Okay. I just had to make sure. Target. Go for the throat. Target. This. Yes. It doesn't matter. Coming to Lily minus. Minus. At 0. These ones. Wow. It is crazy that I could have just died at any point. All right, here we are. We're in the outro. I'm going to kind of keep this a little bit short and sweet. I've talked about this deck quite a bit. If you want more of my thought process, you can obviously go back and just skip to those outros and see. And it's kind of not much different than the Dimir deck I just kind of uploaded, as I talked about that basically being a mono black shell. I realistically think if you're playing black in your deck as the rotation happens, I think you're already at a good spot. I think if you're not playing Boros, I guess, for example, but black has so much versatility and so much flexibility and things like we can even play it as a control shell if we wanted to put the deadly cover-ups in our deck. But outside of that, we're just a strong mid-range game strategy that works well with committing crimes and discarding our opponent's hand and then playing creatures of value that automatically make 2-for-1s happen with control. Like, that's what makes Hostile Investigator so good. It's not necessarily that it makes clues and makes our aggro deck discard a card. That's not why it's good. The reason it's good is against control, where they're already playing a card that's kind of negative tempo on Get Lost, wherever we make map tokens and we can turn our other creatures like a Deep Cavern Bat into a solid threat along with the Caustic Bronco, make them a little bit bigger. But Hostile Investigator coming in play, as it's shown in the one matchup where our opponent just had enough, is it enters and it targets, and unless you Tidebinder it, you have to discard, and then you're going to want to remove it, because as a control deck, you don't want me to get a clue, which then replaces Hostile Investigator, right? So it replaces itself that way. If you're forced to discard with control, you don't like that because it's so hard to go 1-for-1 anyway that you have to rely on cards like Memory Deluge to keep you ahead. But then if you have to kill this and also discard a card, you lose 2 cards off of our 4 mana. So it just gets very, very complicated, and it just sucks for control to deal with this card, which is why I like it so much. And the opposite can be true with Shieldred, where like aggro hates this card and it's very hard for them to deal with. One of the main things I talk about is I thought Harvester would be a little bit better in this deck. I realistically would rather just have a second Shieldred, I think, over this card. I just wanted to play it for that instant speed discard, make it -2, or against Boros as kind of a top deck, like I'm going to make you lose your entire board, which feels nice. But outside of that, I'm going to talk about probably the last piece of the deck before I bring up something that you'll probably notice. In Preacher here, I played this in Dimir, and I played it a ton in Golgari, but Golgari had fallen off the face of the earth for a while. If Reed Duke couldn't figure it out, Golgari was probably not in a good spot. But Preacher of the Schism here, I end up playing 4 copies of this in this deck. It's not legendary, so you could argue it makes Tiny Bones a little bit worse. But this card is so strong and felt so strong against Boros that I felt like I had to play it. And the main reason I kind of gather that, and I talk about it a little bit in the matches, is like, if we have a lower life total, we can attack and make a 1/1. And that is the same amount of creatures back and blocking that we would want anyway. So if we don't attack with Preacher, we have Preacher back as a blocker. If we attack with Preacher, we have the Vampire back as a blocker. And most likely our opponent is not going to put creatures in front of the Preacher. And if they do, what it's going to be is it's just going to be their biggest creature that they can put in front of it. So it does its job anyway. And at that point, it attacked. It made a creature for us to have as a blocker that trade off with all their X1s. But also Preacher took out their biggest creature, or it even takes out 2 creatures that they've had to use. Sometimes I've seen opponents block with 4 creatures. Now, obviously, we can't take them all out. We still end up taking 2. But they risk that because they're so annoyed that Preacher is making 1/1s as blockers on the back end, which give us extra life as well. So not only do the vampires kind of block 5 damage or 4 damage, kind of preventing that 4 damage, you can argue gain that life. Some people will talk about it that way. but the vampires then also block and then gain you 1 life, so even the creatures that do get through are doing significantly less damage, and they kind of counter the Immodange Recruiter on their own. But obviously those get a little bit worse whenever they play a War Leader's Call, so hopefully we can have Duress Stat or Tiny Bones to get rid of it or something like that, or Liliana can make that happen. But I think Preacher was a good addition today. I do think it is a little bit weirder to play Tiny Bones joins up. You could also argue that like it's not as worth it now because we only have so few legendary creatures that trigger it. I didn't even realize, but the reason I enjoy playing it is not necessarily because it commits the crime with the legendaries, but with Karavak, you can have Tiny Bones joins up, be on the battlefield, you can play a Karavak, and then if you can commit a crime on your opponent's upkeep, if they have like 1 card in hand and you have an extra Tiny Bones in play, because of legendary rule, they automatically will sack one of another to go into the graveyard. And then if you have an extra one in there, Karavak can then bring it back and play it, which will then sacrifice the other one. You'll target them to discard, and then that other one will be in the graveyard if you have that mana to replay this. So you can just kind of cycle them with Karavak until they're gone, which is very nice, and I enjoy that quite a lot. But you can argue that maybe you should play another one instead of this one, as I can't remember what it's called, but there's another one drop that does this. But the turns it does commit a free crime with like a Gissa makes it completely worth it in my opinion, because Gissa, the hardest part is playing it and having it actually survive through a turn cycle. But if it dies through their turn, you don't care because you at least made 2 zombie rogue tokens, and that's what we need anyway off of her. But the final thing that you might notice that I ended up doing is I cut the foundries. I was getting annoyed with them. I kept having hands that were like too many colorless lands. I wanted to play the plaza because I want to protect some of my legendaries if the option's there and available. But you could argue cut this, just play the 4th Mirrex if you want. This never came up. I was always kind of tapping out and doing stuff. But with a Liliana, you can argue that plaza can every now and then become relevant, but more relevant than Mirrex, maybe not. But I liked playing Mirrex over the Foundry just because if your opponent has a cut down and we're not forcing them to discard a cut down. Giant moth in my room. What in the world? Holy cow, that moth is attacking me. That's crazy. I will have to get that apparently. But okay, back on track. But Mirrex is just so good because it also allows us just to naturally dodge cut downs or go for the throws. Where the Foundry, it might be an artifact creature, I don't really remember, but the mites help us in a lot more matchups than the Foundries do just in general. Outside of that, I'm gonna have to find out how that bug got in, so that's interesting. And I'll see y'all later. Catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.